Hey everyone, my name is WyrmsEye and welcome back to another episode of the Battlespot Factory, our VGC Battlespot series. So, we finished off yesterday's episode with 2 wins with this adapted Birmingham Regionals team. Really good games, rather, should I say. Nice to get 2 wins, and obviously Mimikyu doing a heck of a lot of work in both games, being able to set up Trick Room on 2 occasions in the first, and being able to use Psych Up on a cursing Alola Muck in the second game really swung the difference in both games there for us, I think. So going to jump back onto the ladder, try and see if we can get a couple more wins with this team. But as you very well know, the North American Internationals are just on their way, coming this Friday, Saturday and Sunday. I will be watching the stream. I don't know whether they've put out a direct link yet, but if they have, I'll link it in the description below. I do encourage everyone to check it out because it will be quite a feast of games on offer, and there'll be excellent commentary by the casters as well as some very experienced battlers going head to head in the event. But for us, certainly the focus is to get a couple of wins today, but I am also looking ahead to the regional that is taking place in Liverpool at the end of July. It counts towards championship points for next season. Whether the system stays the same on the points, we're not 100% sure, and of course obviously the money front, if we do, for those who do well, will also be a big factor as well. We're not sure how the season's going to switch up going into next year, but we might get some feedback from that in the next few weeks or so. It might be a little bit later when the season switches over to Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon's games. But we have found an opponent from Portugal, rated 1728, so very highly rated on the ladder, with a team of Golduck and Pelipper. So we are going to be facing rain today. Tapu Bulu, Alola Marowak, Garchomp and Magnezone. So a very scary team to start off today's episode, understandably so. It's going to be somewhat difficult to actually get around some of the devil in this detail, because rain is a matchup that can go both ways for us. If we manage to get weather priority, we can really stake our authority, but it does mean that we're going to need to be very critical of how we position in this game. Alola Marowak will give us some problems bringing Tapu Koko, but whether we necessarily need it or not is another matter entirely. But yes, so I think with this one we have to lead Hariyama here. We don't really have much of an option not to, and since we need the Trick Room, we're going to absolutely need Mimikyu come what may. For the last 2, I think we definitely want Torkoal to at least try and deny some weather pressure, and this last one is a bit more difficult. I think Snorlax makes the most sense here over Tapu Koko. This does mean that the Garchomp is going to be somewhat of a priority to remove if we can. We know that Torkoal's Eruption, Under the Sun, plus a Play Rough from Mimikyu can knock it out. But if they manage to preserve their Garchomp properly in this game, then we could be in some difficulties. And as well as that, we're going to have to dance around the rain mode, as it were. But we do start off with Tapu Bulu and Garchomp as their leads here. So either one of these two could really have a Z move, and that's what worries me the most. Garchomp most likely will have the Tectonic Rage though, if I was going to guess, because with the grassy terrain up it makes less sense for Garchomp to Earthquake. So what I'm going to do is I am going to fake out into the Tapu Bulu, and I am going to try and Trick Room here. I know that Hariyama can survive a Tectonic Rage, so that's not necessarily a problem. And we do see that Tectonic Rage come out from the Garchomp, will almost certainly be targeting the Hariyama slot. So we should be able to survive this. How well is going to be a matter of debate. Depends how, obviously, this Garchomp is trained. Significant chunk, actually only down to 2 damage as well, so... does leave a lot to be desired there. But thankfully, where the grassy terrain actually gives us a bit of a passive boost, we will be able to survive turn on turn if we're not targeted. So that is a bonus. And we've actually blown the Z move on the Garchomp, which is always a positive thing here. So Poison Jab into Tapu Bulu. And we can go straight for the Play Rough into the Garchomp. I don't think there's any harm in doing that. We might see a Protect or a Double Protect, but we actually see a switch from the Garchomp into the Marowak here. Tapu Bulu does just aim to Protect here. So our Poison Jab goes into Protect. The Play Rough will go into the Marowak. It won't be doing too much damage, but it's still something. Okay. So not an easy turn coming here. But we do know here that they haven't brought at least a full rain mode. So we don't necessarily have to worry about the Golduck, I don't think. The Pelipper could still be an option for my opponents. I'm less concerned about the Bulu here than I am about the Marowak. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock off into the Marowak, and I am going to Shadow Claw as well. I think the combination of attacks should be able to pick up the knockout. But we do see that their Alolan Marowak is slower than our Hariyama. So a very slow Marowak build. And as we see, the Shadow Claw does around 60% there, and the Horneach is going to break our disguise. This is where it's going to become a little bit trickier here. I think I have to bring in Torkoal at this stage. I am half expecting to see a Pelipper switch if possible. But I don't really have much of an option to not go for Eruption here. I've only got a couple of turns of Trick Room as well, which isn't ideal. If they have got Pelipper, it makes sense to switch it in onto the Bulu slot, so... I'm going to double target into the Bulu. If they switch in Garchomp, that's not so much of a problem. But this... and this could be a bit more of an issue. Right. So they haven't shown that they've got... oh, that's difficult. That's really difficult. Ooh. Do I take an educated risk here and bring in Snorlax? I think it's actually worth a shot here. Here's the thing, if we knock out Marowak and Tapu Bulu this turn with the Eruption, because they don't switch out, that's fine. do see Pelipper, right. So I'm hoping that Marowak has actually gone for the Shadow Bone into our Snorlax. So Eruption doesn't do too much damage. Shadow Bone into the Snorlax, lovely. So what I think I can do is, do I want to bring back Mimikyu in? This is difficult. I need to put as much pressure on this turn as possible, so I think I need to belly drum with Snorlax. But I don't think I can risk Mimikyu coming in on this turn and taking any unnecessary damage as it already will be. When it comes in eventually, because I'm going to need to get Mimikyu in safely. As we just see a brine go in. Snorlax does get belly drum. So it'll be interesting to see what this Marowak actually decides to use for an attack. Goes for Shadow Bone. So obviously, I presume trying to double target the Mimikyu there. Trying to double up into the Torkoal slot to get the best worlds of a Brine and a Shadow Bone onto the Mimikyu, which makes a lot of sense, quite honestly. But what I can do now is Trick Room, and I can also go for a Crunch onto the Marowak. I don't think the Pelipper has enough firepower to bring down Mimikyu on its own, so if we can get Marowak removed from play, we're in a good position. And as you can see, Mimikyu taking that very well. The confusion could be a massive problem for us, though. If this gets Trick Room up, I think we can guarantee the game. Lovely. Brilliant. So we have got a +6 Snorlax. It's still at full health without the berry. So going into the next few turns, we managed to get a second Trick Room up. The Pelipper probably has the Focus Sash. We've got to assume that. We know that the Garchomp is Z move, and that has been used. So they send out the Garchomp. Sensible move, I think. Have we actually seen their last? Tapu Bulu. So we have actually broken the Pelipper's sash here. I think we actually play rough into the Garchomp and Facade into the Pelipper. Best bet is the Garchomp. Oh, the Garchomp doesn't protect, so we are going to get a knockout onto the Pelipper. I would imagine the Garchomp's gone for Earthquake anyway. We hit ourselves with confusion on the Mimikyu, which isn't ideal. So we'll see how much this Earthquake actually does. Respectable damage. This is still a situation we can win as a 2v1. Thing is, with the Earthquake now under the grassy terrain, Snorlax should be able to at least take possibly one or two more. So we are in a good position to try and just facade the Bulu, knock it out, as we do get the facade off. Not picking up the knockout. Even at +6? I am really surprised about that. That has meant that we've lost the game. Obviously Snorlax can't take Airward Hammer under the grassy terrain, which is a real shame. Snorlax not picking up at +6 with a facade. So, obviously that's one of the downsides of using facade over something such as double edge or return. Obviously we are using this as a QR code team, so facade makes more sense in the long run. We could have used something like body slam instead if we really wanted to. That would have given us paralysis opportunities, but doesn't tie in well with the trick room aspect of the team. And obviously Snorlax does tend to get burnt a lot, so there is a bit of to and fro with that one. I might need to reinvest the Snorlax into being a little bit more offensive, because that sort of calculation really does hurt us, that we can't pick up the knockout even at +6 on a Bulu. Still, it was a good game to my opponent. I think we played that relatively well, all things considered. We did have an out. Obviously, if we knocked out the Bulu, the Garchomp would have got off an Earthquake, but under the grassy terrain it would have been weakened, even if it's a one-on-one situation. In addition to that, we could have got a couple of recycles off if necessary. I think that should have given us enough damage. Obviously, we would have had to be mindful of when Trick Room ended, because once Trick Room ends, the speed would flip, and we need to have as much health as possible to get through the next couple of turns. So we'd have to predict either a protect on the last turn of Trick Room or something along those lines. But not knocking out the Bulu was a bit of a disappointment. Not gonna lie, it will sting, but the team is built to take advantage of Will-O-Wisps into the Snorlax slot, so I can't really complain too much about it. It's just something how it's built. So I think we played that relatively well to get into the position that we did in the second set of Trick Room, which is always a good thing. But we have found our next opponent of the day. It's Andy, with a team of Tapu Fini, Tapu Lele, Arcanine, Talonflame, Garchomp and Pheromosa. So, very hyper-offensive team here, with the Pheromosa and the Talonflame being very fast options for going forward. The Tapu Lele does mean that Hariyama's use of being able to fake out an opponent is going to be somewhat mitigated. And all round, this is a very messy team to play against. If we can get under Trick Room, we'll be in a decent position, but that's not going to be the easiest opportunity that we have. I think my best bet here is to go Mimikyu and Tapu Koko. I need Torkoal. Oh, do I need Torkoal? I need Snorlax, definitely. Yeah, I need Torkoal. Not really sure how to deal with this team. It's very hyper-offensive and goes a lot against the grain of what regular teams are built like. Talonflame is something that we don't actually see very often in VGC17, but it is still a big threat. One of the things that it does have up its sleeve and in its repertoire. Supersonic Sky Strike can be propped by Gale Wings, so it does have a priority Z move in effect. But we see them lead out with the Arcanine Tapu Lele. And we actually see that the Tapu Lele is scarfed as well. So a lot of information being put on the table here. A huge amount of information being put on the table here. So we do have a couple of options, I do think, here. I have this sneaking suspicion that the Arcanine probably has Roar. So I'm not necessarily going to just go straight into the notion that I want to Trick Room here. Instead, I'm going to target down the Tapu Lele quite aggressively with a Thunderbolt and a Shadow Claw. As we just see a Dazzling Gleam here from the Tapu Lele. Modest damage onto the Tapu Koko. Does break the disguise on our Mimikyu. And we do get this Thunderbolt off. As we see a Z move from the Arcanine. So, Inferno Overdrive, I would imagine this is definitely coming into the Mimikyu here. That would explain why the Dazzling Gleam has come out from the Tapu Lele. Yeah. So nothing we could have done really with the Mimikyu. Didn't even get to get an attack off with it. And that does leave us in a bit of a predicament here. And this is what I mean. This team is very reliant on Trick Room. If we can't get it up, like you see with this opening turn salvo that our opponent has brought, it makes it incredibly difficult for us to maneuver. I mean, I'm in a bad place generally. I've got to assume that's Flare Blitz on the Arcanine. And I don't think my... I'll tell you what, we can try. If we Thunderbolt into the Lele and just Belly Drum with the Snorlax, I think Snorlax can survive. Ooh, that's an interesting choice of move. Does that get rid of our Tapu Koko? Not quite. So critical hit takes down the Tapu Lele. We do get a Belly Drum up, which is always going to be a huge help to us. Not as much health as I would like, personally, with the Snorlax at this stage, but the +6 will help. And if we see Garchomp come in, I will be... Finny. Not nice. Okay. It's in Helping Hand, Flare Blitz. Do we have to assume that the Arcanine has Extreme Speed? I mean, if we assume that it's got extreme speed, that's not necessarily a big problem, because it means that the Finny is only going to be the one targeting the Snorlax, and we can get up a Recycle. If that is the case, I am just going to try and Twinkle Tackle into the Tapu Fini straight away. No point trying to target the Arcanine slot here. No extreme speed coming out, so we will be doing quite a hefty amount of damage into this Tapu Fini. Very much doubt we'll knock it out. Even Thunderbolt under electric terrain struggles with a Tapu Koko. So we'll be looking to do about 60 to 70% hopefully. Crit would be really nice here. Not even making 60. Arcanine avoids the Swagger. So small bonus there. And as you can see, that Swagger would have made a huge difference to this Arcanine. So we are extremely lucky that the Swagger missed. As we actually see the leftovers on the Tapu Fini. So very bulky Fini I think we've got at work here. Do I go for the taunt onto the Fini though? Do I predict that he's going to swagger? Oh, that's a big call. I think I'm going to go for the Thunderbolt into Tapu Fini. I know that I'm faster with the Tapu Koko, so at the very least I can get some decent damage off. We've seen its leftovers. Oh, not picking up the knockout, please. Oh, I should have... No, I should have taunted there. Having seen the swagger and it missing the first time, I should have gone for the taunt on the second attempt. Okay. At the very least, Arcanine is doing a lot of damage to itself, so there is a small consolation there, but that swagger really does put us in a bad position now. And we haven't seen what their fourth is yet, so I have to assume it's the Garchomp at this stage of the game. Yeah, this is a... Have we actually seen their last? No. Garchomp, Talonflame, or Pheromosa? I think Heat Wave makes the most sense here. And I'm just going to try and Thunderbolt into the Arcanine. Hope to pick up a knockout there. The Finny protects, so we do have a shot here of at least knocking out this Arcanine. That's bulky. And we see Flare Blitz, I presume into the Tapu Koko slot. Into the Torkoal. A lot of damage dealt. Knocks itself out. But if there is Garchomp in the back, it makes no difference. Surely it's Garchomp. Yeah. So I think Garchomp here just seals up the game itself. We will go for the Dazzling Gleam and the Heat Wave, but Garchomp I think seals up this game straight away. We don't even pick up the knockout onto Tapu Fini, and as you can see it did absolutely nothing to the Garchomp there, so unfortunate way to lose that. Seeing the swagger onto the Arcanine and knowing that it had it, I think our better play was actually go for the taunt onto the Finny. Because at the very least that means that our Snorlax survives the Flare Blitz, albeit very badly. We would knock out the Snorlax, but we would still have a difficult situation at the end game because we would have to deal with Garchomp with just our Torkoal. And by the look of the damage that the Dazzling Gleam did from the Tapu Koko, I would assume that's an Assault Vest Garchomp, so I think we would have been up against it, whatever we did there. The Garchomp in the back, as I said, well-preserved Garchomps make this team really difficult to win with. So, good preservation by my opponent. Obviously, the swagger play we could have read and at least got something out of it, potentially. But that's the way the game's played. Obviously, I made a call that I thought I could remove the Tapu Fini with the Thunderbolt. I thought I had enough firepower. Turns out I didn't. Yeah, 2 losses today, but I think we played relatively well given what we had on offer. Marginal calls here and there could have swung both games, I think, in our favour, but We have to make those decisions on the fly. We are under a timer, and in competitions you have to live and die by your decisions. So can't really complain there. But until next time, guys, if you would like to see more BattleSpot Factory, do leave a like, comment and subscribe to continue getting updates on the content. I do want to hear from you guys. It's always very much appreciated what you think of the channel. Please do get in touch. I do want to hear from you in whatever ways you can. But until next time, guys, I will see you then. So, bye-bye for now.